welcome back to Shearer Smokes in Morocco, part 2. And you left me in part 1 enjoying my coffee and a bowl of Sherlock Holmes. And today, as I try and jumble this compilation of videos and pictures together, I'm here with the second pipe I brought along with me, which is my Peterson's Rusticated tankard. And in the bowl I have what's left of my cult Blood Red Moon, which is going along very nicely. So I think in part 1 I said we were just heading out into town later that evening, and what a great time we had. It's only a short taxi run, about 10 minutes, and within that 10 minutes you find yourself in a very much more modern part of the city, and I found a really nice restaurant. We were very well looked after, and after that we headed off and found a karaoke bar. And of course, with Morocco being French spoken, most of the singing was in French, apart from a couple of other guys got up to sing, but it was a great experience, and it was a really good night. And I actually met up with the local DJ, who's quite a character, and having a bit of interest in DJing myself, it was quite nice to have that little connection. And just got a couple of pictures from the night out, just to give you an idea. So we had our walking tour of the local area. It was roughly about 3 hours, and which was probably just about long enough, as since arriving in Marrakech, the temperatures during the day probably been in the high 30s, about 38, and have maintained that kind of level all through the day and into the early evening. So 3-hour walk around the city area was long enough, but what a tour we had. Of course, we had to go and visit the famous souks, where there are just thousands of traders with their shops located in these little lanes that just seem to branch off into even more array of shops. And rather than trying to explain about it, here's some pictures and just a little bit of footage, just to give you an idea. So that was the tour of the souks, and as you can see, just a total assault on all the senses, the smells, the noise, so much going on, the hustle and bustle, and of course very easy to find yourself lost. It's just a maze, a labyrinth of different alleyways and lanes that lead into even more shops and traders, and it was just great to see just a glimpse of how things were done and still are done in a sort of trading world. And we were told that back in the day in Morocco was a really important trading post. Money never exchanged hands, it was always goods for goods. And a very interesting picture I have is the weighing scales, and here I'll just pop that in now. Yeah, so those weighing scales were actually used, as I said, to barter with goods. So a trader would come in with maybe, say, 5 kilo of flour, and he would trade that for the same weight in maybe rice or sugar or, so forth. That kind of idea. Of course, back in those days, there was also the slave trade, and slaves were actually weighed in a very exact same way as goods. So it was quite a glimpse back into those times. Our guide told us that in days gone by, most of the goods were handmade, and there were still signs of that being done, especially a lot of leather work, some metal work as well, pottery, local bakeries. But a lot of the goods that you see in the souks are actually already imported, mainly from China, and then sold, obviously, to visiting tourists. But it was a great experience, and as I said, the smells and just the whole atmosphere of the place, quite intoxicating, really. But good experience. We stopped off at a pharmacy, and we were given a demonstration on the different spices that can be used not only in cooking but also medicinal, for sinus problems, back pain, all sorts of remedies. And again, the smells that we were able to experience, that was quite an interesting little stopover. One of the other stops we had was the university, which closed in 1960. But in its time, it's where students would go, male students would go to learn law, and they would come out as lawyers, but they were lawyers of Islam, and they would deal with community matters and Islamic law. And when the university was open, I think it was 900 students came through the student, and they lived and studied actually in the university itself. And here's a couple of pictures just to give you an idea of that. So that was our trip into the souks and out to the university, and it was just great, especially to have Abdul, who was our tour guide. He was very knowledgeable, and Abdul himself is Arabic, and he told us a lot about the fundamentals, or the 5 fundamentals of Islam, and it was just very interesting to learn a bit about that. So the area that we're in, just over my shoulder, is the main part of the square where we're staying. In fact, our So, as I said, I may have mentioned before, the area that we're in is very traditional and very old, and so no alcohol obviously is allowed within the area. You can have alcohol back where we're staying, but it has to be brought in by ourselves, and when it is brought in, which is really something quite remarkable, we have to go outside of this area, almost into the newer part of the city, to the supermarket where you can buy alcohol, but it has to be covered. So they have people there to help who will pack your bags, and there's a really nice system of, rather than giving them a tip, they would choose a product, maybe a pot of jam or some other food item, and you would buy that for them, and they would happily pack your bags and make sure that all the alcohol is covered, and that way you wouldn't be offending when you go back into the older part of the town. As I said, this bit's known as the Casbah. So yeah, I'm going to have a little wander about, and I'll pop in some pictures as I go along. The highlight for me is coming up pretty soon, and that is the sunset camel ride. So I'm going to keep that for part 3, and hopefully you will join me for that. But so far, this trip has just it's been amazing, and unfortunately we're only really here for 2 full days, so probably just enough time just to get a slight flavour of Marrakech. But as I said in part 1, I'm already blown away and already looking forward to coming back at some point. So we'll go for a little wander, and I'll pop in some footage at the end, and join me in part 3, where I'll share with you our sunset camel ride. But until then, as always, my name's Shearer. Enjoy your smokes.